Hello and welcome back to another installment of Tim's vlog that is actually just youth group. Today I had no reason to show you all the cacti around my house, so I figured I would just stay outside the whole time. I even got dressed up for you guys. But since I'm outside, maybe I'll show you something from inside.
That's where we keep our silverware.
And just like last week, and like we will always be doing, I will be guiding us in a reminder, in a recap of the lessons that Pastor Joel led us through, and that's what we'll be discussing. So our first recap is from Sunday. On Sunday, Pastor Joel led us through Ezekiel 37, and this is where we find the vision of the dry bones. And this vision is a picture of death, right? It's a picture of loss and pain, but through that we see the power of God. We see God bringing life out of this dry death, right? This total loss. There was no hope, but God's power made something out of nothing, right? And Pastor Joel reminded us that Ezekiel had no timestamp on this vision, which was very common for his visions. But Elie Wiesel, in pointing that out, said, this is a vision for all generations, right? And I think that's important for us today too, to remember that this is a vision that God wanted us to have for today. That God wanted us to know in the middle of this chaos that He can create something out of nothing. He can bring life out of death. And as we're afraid and confused about what's going on, we need to remember that out of this pain, out of this loss, God can bring amazing things. And then on Tuesday and last Thursday, Pastor Joel was back in Psalm 23. We were looking at verses 2 and 3 in reverse order, because Thursday actually came first in this situation, which is weird, but it's true. So on Thursday, we were looking at verse 2, which says that God makes me lie down in green pastures. Right? And what's important here, what Pastor Joel was focusing on, was that God makes us lie down in green pastures because He knows that we need to rest, and we're not good at that. Right? Some of us, we just don't like to rest because we're always doing something. We like to work through tough situations, whether that's to avoid, or if that's just what we know. That's what we know to do. Some of us, though, worry. Right? We do rest, but we rest in the wrong places. We try to fix things on our own. But God makes us lie down in green pastures, right? He's making us lie down in the correct places that we can find true rest. Can I tell you a secret? He's the green pastures, right? He is the right place for us to be resting right now. And that's what He's trying to teach us. And that's what we need to remember right now is, as we have this time of isolation, that we are to rest in God. Which leads into verse 3, which makes sense because it's the same psalm. We talked about yesterday in Pastor Joel's meditation. Verse 3 says that God restores our souls. Right? And our soul is everything that we are, minus the physical. Right? It's what connects us to God. It's what is there when our bodies are gone. Right? And we often try to look and see what's wrong with us, right? Especially in these times of isolation, when we have so much time to think, we look and ask the question of how can I make this right? How can I reconnect with God? Right? And Pastor Joel shared a story that I would encourage you to go back and watch. That's pretty encouraging, of a young man that was asking that question. How can I get right with God? And the answer is right here in this psalm. You can't. We can't make things right with God, because God restores our soul. We can't do anything, but through the sacrifice of Christ, God is able to bring us back to Him. He is able to restore us. And back to verse 2, He's able to give us rest in the right places. All right, so tonight, as we're looking back at all three of those lessons, I want us to think about these questions in your small groups. The first one is, how did God show Israel that He was bringing dry bones to life? How did He show them back in the ancient Bible times, right? And the second one on that topic is, how is He showing you that same thing? How do you see dry bones coming to life? And then looking back at the Psalm 23, asking the questions, how can we use this time of rest productively? Right? What does it look like to rest in God in the midst of this forced quarantine, right? Where you can't do a whole lot but rest. Or how can you learn to trust God in this uncertainty? Right? That was a weird noise. How can you learn how to trust that God is taking care of you in this uncertain time? All right, and then the last verse in the Psalm, the two questions for that one. Have you ever felt your Have you ever felt your soul needing restoring? Have you ever looked at your life and said, how can I fix this? How can I get right with God? And then our last question, how can we make sure that we're putting our true selves, our identity, our soul in Christ alone? I hope that you guys have some great discussions tonight, that you have some great moments of resting in God this next week, and that you come back and join us next week, and that you stay safe and healthy. Yeah, that's good. Those are good things. I will talk to you guys next week. Have fun tonight, and we'll see you later.